How did I disconnect? Where did that go?
Is your mouse? Is your mouse?
Here, I'll use this mouse. I got it.
Okay.
Okay, so where'd that go? Right here.
Okay, it's 11:45. Why don't we go ahead and get started? This is the City Council Lunch and Learn for Tuesday, October 13th. And we'll call the meeting to order now, and a roll call by Nicole.
Blake?
Here.
Thank you. Carberry Montgomery? Obrecht?
Here.
Hoagie?
Here.
Russell?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a pretty full agenda here, and we're going to start with Greg Edwards from Catch Des Moines. So, Greg, are you ready to go? Oh, yeah, let me back up. Nicole reminded me. First, do we need a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a motion?
So moved by Obrecht.
Second by Blake.
Okay. Motion by Obrecht, second by Blake. We'll take a roll call.
Obrecht?
Yes.
Blake?
How do I get there?
Carberry Montgomery?
Yes.
Hoagie?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we'll turn to Catch Des Moines, and the president, Greg Edwards, is here today with us. And Greg, hopefully everything's technologically available to you and you can go.
Okay. You guys seeing that?
Yes.
Did I mute myself again?
Looks great, Greg.
Or you know what? I'm not, my speakers aren't. Are you guys seeing that now? Are you hearing me?
Yes, we
Are you
can
hearing
see
me in
you,
there?
and we can also
I
see
can't hear you.
your presentation.
Do I don't know this.
Sorry, he doesn't have audio.
Oh my. Okay, are you with me?
We are.
You can hear me, but I can't hear you. But then again, I'm an old man, so. Oop.
Okay, Greg, can you hear us now?
More.
You want to try yours, Nicole?
Yeah, change that to speaker.
There's something wrong with his audio. Why don't you just, can we send him a message? Go ahead and start.
Okay, yeah, I've got it. I apologize. I finally got it figured out here. I can hear you.
Okay, you're up.
Sorry. Do I need to wait for any kind of a intro, or are you guys ready for me?
No, we introed you while you were having technical difficulties, so you can go ahead and just identify yourself and go ahead.
What'd you say about me? I'm kidding.
Only good, Greg. I'm trying to hire you for an IT position here.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'd be really good at that. Hey, thank you all for the time, and I'll try to be brief. I know you've got other things on the agenda today, so I appreciate it. City Council, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Manager and City staff for listening in. This is our annual report for Catch Des Moines, your Convention and Visitors Bureau. To some of the new council members, welcome aboard. Hope you're enjoying your new stint serving the City of Urbandale, which I happen to be a resident of. So it's great to have you on board. And fill you in a little bit on what's going on in the travel, tourism, convention industry here in the metro area. So needless to say, it's been a trying time. The last 7 months in particular have just been devastating to our industry. National figures show more than half of our travel industry jobs were lost. 15.8 million jobs have been lost at this point. Here in the metro, it's estimated that about 20,000 jobs are as a result of the travel tourism industry here. It's estimated that about 15,000 of those jobs have also been impacted during the pandemic. At the height of the pandemic, 5 hotels actually closed down temporarily. 4 of those have now reopened. There's still 1 hotel that is still closed down, anticipating to open in the next couple of weeks, and that's the Courtyard Marriott out in the Jordan Creek area. Our budget-wise, we sustained a 54% cut in our budget for this fiscal year. We're on the same fiscal as you all are, a July 1 fiscal. In doing so, we had to reinvent ourselves. We reinvented a lot of our strategies, the way we think and go about doing business day to day. We eliminated 25% of our staff. Of some of those jobs we hope to reinstate down the road when we see some growth in our budget numbers. We also did a 5% salary cut across the board and made all kinds of other cuts from our budget for this fiscal year. Believe it or not, last year is going to be a record year, especially with the Iowa caucuses coming in February, which still was a huge boost. And most of you should have received our annual year-end review a month or so ago. I hope you opened that and read through it. It highlights really some of our successes, both in the media marketing areas and in our sales area as well, and some of the major bookings that we did book last year. Check my notes here. We, particular to Urbandale, we sent 51 different leads to your Urbandale hotel properties. Of those, 14 booked events, actually creating an economic impact of over $4.1 million just to those hotels in the Urbandale area directly. Just some stats on Urbandale right now, or last year stats. These are calendar year stats. 2019, your hotel occupancy was at 56.6%. This year to date, you're currently running at 37.1%. Metro-wide last year, we ran 62.2%. And year to date, Metro occupancy is 39.9%. So you're just a little bit below the Metro average. I think what you're going to see through this COVID pandemic, that a lot of the interstate hotels are doing better than really any of the hotels, of which you have many. But I think probably your downturn are probably the Hilton Garden Inn. I think people are electing to stay on the lower rated type hotels, self-service type hotels. So that's probably the cause of some of that downturn movement there. Last year we booked 305, or excuse me, last year we had cancellations of 305 conventions, meetings, sporting events after this pandemic has occurred. Obviously, again, devastated the tourism industry. We've been doing a lot of calls with our partners. We do a visitor industry call quite often. In our last call, which we did just a couple weeks ago, we had Jeff Bruning, who's one of the owners of Full Court Press, which owns a lot of restaurants throughout the metro, including Buzzard Billy's and Royal Mile and Hessen House and some of those. He's saying the restaurant business is down 70% compared to a year ago. Kevin Foley, we also had on the line. Kevin's the director of the Des Moines International Airport. As of September, about 38 to 40% of air traffic is back compared to last year. So still things are slowly creeping ahead, but it's going to take some time. Sales-wise, believe it or not, we had a great booking year last year. We ended the year, we actually made our goals. We exceeded our goals for the year. We had the best booking year in our history, really. Now, some of that stuff is going to either dip off now and or postpone. Hopefully, they're just postponements. We're seeing right now that the first quarter of next year is still looking pretty dark. We're hoping that by second quarter and third quarter, we'll begin to pick up some momentum there as we move forward. Our board elected to lower our booking goals this year. Our goal this year is to book 220 events, knowing that we're going to have a lot of challenges as we've faced so far. Although we are booking business currently, staff has been working hard. We're working both remotely and at the office. We have a sign-in sheet to come into the office, try to keep it under 10 members at a time, and that's working out well. But staff has been keeping very productive, both on the marketing and sales side as well. Some of the stuff we've implemented during the COVID-19 crisis, we've done weekly hotel meetings where we keep in touch with all of our metro hotels, give them updates, trends across the country, things we're working on, things we're booking, those kinds of things. We monitor and communicate all the event cancellations throughout to all of our partners with our organization. We facilitate, coordinate postponed events. We've done a lot of different promotions, one of which was in partnership with Greater Des Moines Partnership with our DSM Local Challenge, really asking people to support local businesses, restaurants, hotels, things like that. We came out with a hotel bond program. We had about 35 hotels participated in that, and that's where people could buy a hotel bond for $100, and within 30 days, the bond was then worth $150 that they could use at a later date for the hotel. Done a lot of support resources on our website. Of course, we co-hosted with Business Record our Des Moines Restaurant Week, which was the last part of August, which was a good success as well. And we've done just a ton of videos. If you get a chance, you might want to go to our website, catchdesmoines.com/videos, and check out all the different videos that we're putting out all over social media. Our latest one is an outdoor video. Big trends across the country. Obviously, people want to be outside. They want to do outdoor events. They still want to do some traveling, but staying closer to home, and obviously traveling by car, which is somewhat to our advantage as well. Just some couple of charts to show you. Everybody loves charts, but this chart will show you, this is our STAR report. For some of you new to the industry, STAR stands for Smith Travel Research. This is really the big national company that traces occupancies and average daily rates of hotels really from every city in the country. And we get this data on a weekly basis. But you can see by this chart, the red line is occupancy. The blue line is average daily rate from hotels. And the green line is what's called RevPAR, which is revenue per occupied room, which is really what hotels base their profits on. You can see the huge dip really going from February down through March, bottoming out in April, slowly trending upwards. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to hook to the next chart as well, where this really shows you weekly occupancies. You can see some of the big peaks. You see a peak in July. That was when we hosted the Nike Tournament of Champions basketball tournament. It was a 3-week event that we were able to lure here. It was supposed to have been at the McCormick Place in Chicago, but they got bumped out of Illinois, so we were able to latch onto that. It was a youth girls basketball tournament, 8th grade through high school, but had a huge impact. It was really kind of a lifesaver, at least to the hotel hospitality industry anyway. So you see that peak in July. The other interesting peak in August, believe it or not, that was Duratio. We saw a large peak in occupancy from the Duratio storms. I think we even, brought in people from other places in Iowa, perhaps Cedar Rapids, people that were out of power for a long time, did come to the metro and stay a few days anyway in hotels. This is a chart that we do, we keep updated regularly and share with our executive board and our board of directors. Again, showing what our actuals were last year, which is the red line. What our budget was this year is the blue line. And then the green line shows you where we are actually for year to date. The top chart is ADR, again, average daily rate. The bottom chart is occupancy. We're pretty pleased so far. First quarter results have come in and we're ahead of the curve, at least on what we budgeted. Average daily rate continues to go up a little bit. To give you an example, average daily rate a year ago would be about $105. Right now we're hovering around the $80 mark, but it's slowly edging forward. So we're seeing some progress in that as well. This is another report that we do. Primarily we use internally. It's called our PACE report. This is where we can look at future years. So much of the stuff that we do is way out into the future. That's why our bookings right now are actually pretty decent, because we're booking for 2022, 2023, and beyond. And the PACE report really helps us track, and it gives the hotels too projections on how we're looking in 2021. You can see 2021, for instance, we're ahead of pace right now. 2022, we're right at pace. 23, we're ahead of pace. And 24, we're below pace. But that's pretty far out, so we're not really too concerned about that. We also, if you look at the lower section of this chart, of this page, we also compare ourselves to competitive cities. Competitive at size like Lexington, Providence, and Spokane, and then by who we look at for major competition, Louisville, Milwaukee, and Omaha. And you can see really we're ahead of the pace there in most categories as well compared to these other cities. So we're pleased with that as well. A couple sales notes. We, during this pandemic, actually a year ago, prior to the pandemic, we started a new group, what we call the National Planning Advisory Board. This is made up of national meeting planners, sports planners, event planners. We have about 20 people participating on that board. And we do a meeting about every 6 months with them, talking about what are they hearing in the industry, what trends they're seeing, what we can do better to bring in more national conventions, sporting events, things like that. So they've been a lot of help to us. And especially during the pandemic, we've done several calls with them since the pandemic hit, just to get their insights. What are you doing early in 21? We're hearing still about the same. We're not planning any meetings yet. We're going to wait till there's a vaccine and wait till it's a little bit safer to move around the country. We also established a state association board as well, where we communicate with about 12 different state associations, some of the larger ones, the Iowa School Boards, Iowa Bankers, Iowa State Bar Association, things like that. Find out what they're doing as far as their state conventions and their state meetings go as well. Kind of hearing the same things from them. It's just everything's kind of on hold until at least probably first quarter of next year. We did talk about doing a basketball bubble. You may have read that in the newspaper recently. That kind of got shot down. We're working with Drake University and, of course, the Iowa Event Center to host that. Drake actually elected to these mid-major, larger schools like Kansas State are doing their own bubbles. They're actually paying these schools to come in and play in their bubbles. So it was a great opportunity for Drake. We don't fault them at all, but that's not going to happen here, unfortunately. Political, agriculture, social events, sports events seem to be happening somewhat. We have a large wrestling tournament coming in the end of October. It's a USA Wrestling pre-national championships. It's a youth tournament. Anticipate over 2,000 wrestlers to be in town for that event, and there's still a go. Believe it or not, they're going to wrestle during COVID. We also have done a couple other direct selling organizations, which is that Markowicz thing. The Blue Oval Showcase was very successful that Drake put on this year. He did put some more heads in beds and some seats in restaurants as well. Dance and drill team's still on board for December, and a lot of the ag shows are definitely on board for the first of the year. So that's some good news there as well. I should mention tomorrow at, I got to think of my times. I'll probably mess this up. I think it's 12 o'clock Eastern time. The NCAA will announce their next championship cities from 2023 all the way through 26. We are, fingers are crossed that we're going to hear a positive vote for Des Moines to bring back the men's basketballs round 1 and 2 tournament. So we'll find out about that tomorrow. We also put a bid in for NCAA track and field championships and NCAA regionals. So fingers are crossed with that as well. On the marketing side of things, our team's just done a tremendous job again in pivoting what we were doing, how we were doing things. The big trend, as I mentioned earlier, of people wanting to stay closer to home, travel by car. We've really hit the social media markets, a lot of the digital markets with a lot of our videos, our ads, talking about, what a great place the Metro is. It's safe, it's clean, the hospitality cleanliness that hotels have put in place and all those good kind of things. So we have seen a good result of that. Actually, our weekend hotel occupancies are running stronger than our weekday, which is totally opposite of the norm. Normally, that business travel traffic is going to drive your weekday, but there's just very little business travel. So done a lot of things in that arena as well. You can see on that page other things. We've also included a survey that's put out by Longwoods International, which is a big travel trend company that's out there, but you can kind of see how Americans are thinking about traveling and some of the results from that as well. And I'm stuck. It's like I froze up, but that's really about my last slide anyway. The last slide, total economic impact that we created last year, just our organization, was over $47 million with conventions, sporting events, and meetings and those good kinds of things. So on that, I'm happy to pause and take any questions or comments you may have.
Thank you, Greg. Does anybody have any questions of Greg? Hearing none. Thanks, Greg. We appreciate the work you're doing, especially in this environment, and hopefully we'll be able to put this behind us and you'll have better news to report in the future.
I sure hope so. Thank you all for the continued support and partnership with your hotels and your hospitality community. Greatly appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a discussion between Urbandale Windsor Heights Sanitary District, and Tim's going to handle this. Are you on, Tim?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yep. All set to go.
Okay, well, while Dave or Nicole is bringing up the PowerPoint, there we go. I'll get started here. A little bit of background. Just wanted to explain to you kind of our existing agreement with both of the sanitary sewer district. To kind of make a long story short, and here's the kind of the breakdown of the two sewer districts. Obviously, the majority of the city, about 93% of our lines are in the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District. Southeast corner of the city, basically everything east of 72nd Street and south of Aurora, with the exception of Merle Hay Mall, is located in the Urbandale Windsor Heights Sanitary District. So basically our existing operations with those two districts is the City of Urbandale acts as a contractor for them. So, you know, in the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District, they get about 1.1 million feet of sanitary sewer, 4,900 manholes and one lift station. We clean all that, televise all that, maintain, you know, take care of the maintenance projects, and they reimburse us for the direct costs. So when one of our staff spends an hour working on their system, we bill them for the hourly rate and the benefits, and they reimburse us. Same agreement with the Urbandale Windsor Heights Sanitary Sewer District, much smaller district. In Urbandale, only about 85,000 feet of sanitary sewer and 400 manholes. And what that results in, Dave's scrolling here. So they reimburse us, the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District each year reimburses us about $135,000 in personnel expenses and about $96,000 in administrative expenses. And that administrative expenses includes non-hourly staff time. They actually pay for vehicles. We own those vehicles, so we have to insure them. It covers workers' comp for our employees. We have to house the equipment that they purchased. There's a lot of asset management involved, including software, mapping. We also locate their sewers for them. So all that overhead is included. Urbandale Windsor Heights, approximately annually, $25,000 in personnel expenses and about $18,000 in administrative expenses. It works out well for us operationally because they basically fund two employees, the two districts do. And those employees are used for other things such as snow removal, storm debris cleanup, and any other special projects we may have. And also I mentioned they have equipment. They actually have purchased 5 pieces of equipment for us that allows us to maintain their sanitary sewer system. The value of those pieces of equipment is about $600,000. The nice thing is we can use that equipment on other city projects, and vice versa. We have other city equipment that we can use on sanitary sewer projects. And that operational efficiency, it keeps rates for both districts low. And based on studies that the two districts have done, Urbandale residents pay very low sewer rates. So first of all, I'll preface this by saying we're early on in this process working with the City of Windsor Heights and the Urbandale Windsor Heights Sanitary Sewer District. We've kind of discussed this at a staff level, and we did talk to the mayor about it, and he agreed to go forward on this. But recently, the City of Windsor Heights approached us and said, basically, make a long story short, you guys are a much bigger operation than us. It's very likely that you much more efficiently and cost effectively can maintain our sanitary sewer district. We agreed with that, and we've gotten into a little bit of research on how we could take that over. We did run it by the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District. They were all for it. Obviously, their main concern was, you know, we don't want to see any service levels cut within our sanitary sewer district, and we don't think that's going to happen. And by the way, before we go to the next slide, the Urbandale, or the Windsor Heights, the City of Windsor Heights sanitary sewer system is in very good shape. They've done much more lining than we have. I've helped them out with some lining projects, and the good thing is if we take this over, it's going to be a system that's in excellent condition. You can go to the next one there, Dave. And what's in Windsor Heights is relatively similar to the Urbandale, what's in Urbandale as far as the Windsor Heights district goes. About 85,000 feet of sewer, 400 manholes. We'd be doubling the amount of work that we did for the Urbandale Windsor Heights Sanitary Sewer District. Again, they reimburse us for all those costs. We estimate it would be about 400 additional hours of labor, $25,000 in labor reimbursement, and an additional $10,800 in administrative fees. So long story short, I think we can go ahead and take over maintenance of it with very little impact, if any, on our existing operations. And again, the benefits are, if we can help the Urbandale Windsor Heights Sanitary District more efficiently maintain their system, it'll help keep rates low for those Urbandale residents that live in the Urbandale Windsor Heights District. And also, as far as the rest of the community that lives in the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District, this is going to save the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District a few bucks, because their cost sharing between the two districts will be kind of proportionally changed a little bit. So it's not a ton of money, but it's a little bit of money. So again, we're certainly helping out the City of Windsor Heights, but we're also helping out all the ratepayers in the two sanitary sewer districts. And what we're currently working on is just working through a 2080 agreement with the staff of Windsor Heights and the attorney for the sewer districts. Unless there's no objective in the near future, we'd like to bring that through as a council item in 2021. Begin to maintain their system.
Hey, Tim, your phone kind of cut out there a little bit. I could still hear you. Hopefully everyone else could. Was there anybody who couldn't hear Tim at the end? Okay, does
Hear very well.
Yeah, and I'm on the line, and I'd be glad to answer any questions. If we can't hear Tim, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
The only question I have, Dave, is how long of an agreement are we looking at with Windsor Heights?
Right now, Paul Dre, the attorney for the USSD and the Urbandale Windsor Heights Sewer District, put together a draft, and that draft had of a 2080 agreement, and it was he had 25 years in there, which was my comment that can't happen, that there has to be, I don't think we can go into this and be able to terminate tomorrow, say we're stopping, but I do believe that we should be able to give notice, and whether that's 6 months out or a year out. But that is one of my comments, that we'll have to work it out, because that's a concern of mine too. I think we should be able to terminate this at any time that if it doesn't work out for us. But I think there has to be a length of time afterwards that we give them to put together other type of service.
This
But
is
I think
Bridget.
that-
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bridget.
Paul J represents both of the districts.
That's correct.
Will we be getting some sort of letter from him regarding his ability to represent both districts in this negotiation? Or is the agreement with the City of Urbandale, or is the agreement with the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District?
The agreement that we have currently is between the City of Windsor Heights, City of Urbandale, and the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District. That said, we have briefed the USSD on everything, and they're supportive, because theoretically their fees are going to come down slightly also, because the overhead for the City of Urbandale will be spread more to the Urbandale Windsor Heights. So theoretically they're benefiting also.
I interrupt here real quick. This agreement that will be going forward does not involve the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District. It's just Urbandale, Windsor Heights Sanitary District, City of Windsor Heights, City of Urbandale.
Okay.
Question about maintenance. If there was a sewer line in Windsor Heights that needed to be replaced, is that an expense that would be billed directly to them, even if we did the repairs?
The short answer is yes. Just
Okay.
everything's time and material. If it's a contract, it's the district that pays. Everything is billed time and material.
Okay. And then we would not incur additional city staff to take on the additional man hours.
Tim, I'll let you.
Yeah, that's right. We think we can handle that with existing staff. If we couldn't, we wouldn't entertain it.
And then my other question is more for curiosity. Where is our lift station at?
It'd be located on Merle Hay Road, just south of Meredith Drive. There's just a small neighborhood there that we need to pump it uphill.
Huh. Okay.
Sits right in front of Twisted Bean Coffee Shop.
Oh, all right. Never knew that.
I think that's.
Does anybody else have any questions for Dave or Tim?
Yeah, this is Adam. I just had a quick question on, so staffing wise, this is the expected annual. If they get into a big project, can they go outside of us to get that staff to run? Say they, need to do something that's beyond our capabilities. Would that be in the agreement?
Yes, and that's kind of what we're doing right now with both sanitary sewer districts. Both sanitary sewer districts have a separate district engineer. And for the most part, we just handle the maintenance. If there's a large, expansion project, replacement project, they charge their district engineer with taking care of that project. And yes, that will be in the agreement.
Thanks.
Right now, we attend all of the USSD meetings. We do not. We just go once a year, whatever, to the Urbandale Windsor Heights. That's probably something that's going to have to change, where we attend on a regular basis for both districts. But you are right that if it's a big project, then it'll be done by the district engineer, and we would not be involved.
Anybody have any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Tim and Dave. The next is our virtual fall tour. So those of you who've been on this before with Tom Gaiman knows that we stopped and got our coffee and we're ready to go. So I'll turn it over to Jan, who's going to start.
Okay, I want to make sure everybody can see the presentation here. It's a lot more fun driving the van, but this will be a quick version of it. So just a year in review of some of the projects that we've completed within the Parks and Recreation Department. Super excited. I know a number of council meetings with all the donations that we've brought in the last 2 years, but our all-inclusive playground was completed. Pickleball courts are recently open. We have some fun public art that has been popping up in the community parking lot at the Walnut Creek Regional Park in preparation for our large open shelter. A new playground at Gulfview West, and then phase 1 of Dunlop Park was completed in the end of 2019. So just some neat pictures. Hopefully you've been out to the all-inclusive playground, but again, this is the interstate, the north end of the Little League complex at Northview Park. And it's been wildly successful. We have kids out there every single day, all times of the day, and kids that are of all abilities that have been out there. I thought this is a really cool picture showing part of the Little League complex. Also shows where our Miracle League field is, and then on the north end here is the all-inclusive playground. Onto our 4 new pickleball courts. They have also been very popular. And this is on just off the main parking lot at Walker Johnson Park. and you see the ball fields to the south here. Kind of a neat view of the four courts. We will be, just for your information, we will be installing some picnic tables with shade, with umbrellas in between the courts here as people are waiting to play. And some action shots here, people playing at the courts. And on to some public art that you may have seen in Urbandale throughout this past year. The Public Art Committee has a new initiative this year. It's called Splashes of Art. We received some grant funding from Bravo, and also some allocated funds through the parks budget. So this, if you know Buck Jones, he's a Urbandale artist. So this is at Walker Johnson Park as you cross under Douglas Avenue. This was just installed last week. So this is right at Lakeview Park along Aurora. So you can see the pond behind here, and you just can stand right in between and have your picture taken with the butterfly wings. We've been having some manhole cover art, and it's kind of fun just to seeing people kind of do a double take and notice the fun different art. This one is at Lakeview Park. This is along Colby Woods Trail, just south of the reserve as you're going toward Hickman. And the snake, and I don't know if this is covering it or not. We have another one on the top corner there, but those are at Walker Johnson Park. The Douglas Interchange sculptures were installed in June, and they are the two sculptures. This was funded $20,000 from the city and $20,000 from a grant with Bravo. And one of the sculptures, as you may have noticed and have heard, when we had the not the derecho, but a storm in July, took down this sculpture. And I'll actually be coming to you at the next council meeting with a request. We've how we want to proceed with that project and work with the artist to build a new sculpture to replace this sculpture right here. So I'll be bringing that request to you at the meeting next week. And you might recognize this guy, Mr. Robinson, Greg Robinson, but this is under Townsend Tunnel, so just north of Lakeview Park. Kate Newberg is an Urbandale artist, and also on our Public Art Committee. So she painted this one, as well as this is in the Senior Recreation Center, and she painted this on the south wall of where they have their different fitness equipment. So it's been really neat to have some of our local artists. And again, these two sculptures are from a local artist as well. Clint Hansen is his name. In Gulfview West, it was a playground. We've prioritized all of the playgrounds. We have 57 parks, 36 playgrounds, and as they age, we look to replace one or at least parts of the equipment each year, and Gulfview West was one of those parks this year. So, the Walnut Creek Regional Park, we are the open shelter that is planned for 2021, and this year we're doing the main parking lot. So that area right here will serve as the trailhead, as well as anticipation the parking lot here. So 100-car stall parking lot is just being completed. They poured concrete last week, so very excited. This section right here is, you can see the park access road. So as you go right here is the park access road. It's along 147th Street. So very excited about that. We've been waiting many years to be able to get the shelter and some parking out into this park so we can get people out enjoying this amazing 200-acre park. So very excited about that as well. And then one of the last projects that we've done, you recently just approved the bids for phase 2 and 3 of the Jacqueline Baldwin Dunlop Park and Arboretum. This was phase 1. And part of phase 1, it was actually off of Patricia Drive on the northwest corner. It included an 8-foot wide trail to make a loop within the park, an overlook of the park, so viewing toward the south, and then a walkway and with pavers, and then an entrance gate. We widened the entrance gate for an easier access for the park staff and the maintenance. So this just gives a quick picture. This is the windmill that's there. It's facing south, so we added this overlook some pavers and limestone seating area. And I would think there's a very high percentage of family pictures and senior pictures that are taken at this park, because every evening as the sun's going down, you can pretty much be guaranteed you're going to be seeing some pictures. So beautiful park, and we're excited to be able to continue to develop that park. So this was I was actually out on a walk last week in Colby Woods Trail and had to take a few cool pictures of the trail. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions for Jan?
Hey, Jan, this is Councilman Blake. Curious about the two sculptures. That's on my commute every day, and I see it, and I see the legs of the other statue or raptor. Is there any concerns about the structural integrity of the other statue, similar to how the other one fell down?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is the one that you're talking about. The artist actually went out there to add a little more materials to help strengthen that. But we actually, as part of the, and I'll quickly give an overview that I'll be presenting next week, but we did submit this sculpture that went down to ICAP, our insurance. They did review it. And as you notice here, there's just two small legs here that were supporting the whole structure. So essentially they found that the sculpture was not built to the level it should have been to withstand the weather. So either we could submit for the claim. Again, the value is $20,000. So the insurance, after $5,000 deductible, the city would have got $5,000. Or we can work directly with the artist. He has agreed to, for $5,000, to build a much more substantial sculpture, and we would require a structural engineer to approve that. So again, that's answering this question, but your question, we actually hired a structural engineer to evaluate the current sculpture out there, and it was determined to be safe. This dog here actually gives it another point of support. A recommendation was that we actually, it's amazing what the reports can include, but the prevailing winds or the direction of the wind, they recommended that we turn it 45 degrees so it has less, the wind is hitting it at less capacity. So we will be doing that in the next 2 weeks of rotating it, but we do have that report. So it is safe and it should withstand up to, John Conyer might be on the line, he can correct me, I believe up to 85-mile-an-hour winds. So yes, I commend John Conyer, our risk management director. He right away said, we got to evaluate the current one to make sure it's safe as well. So great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Next, we're going to have John Larson, but before then, AJ, anything you wanted to add on this?
Thank you. No, we, again, it's a pretty fall tour. We would have loved to have gotten you out. We have a brand new van that the city bought, has big, wide windows, and we always find that the fall tour is a great opportunity, not only for the council to talk among themselves, but to see the projects that we're investigating, that we're working with. We always have a July update that from the engineering department on the current projects. So at the fall tour, we always like to say, these are the projects that we're completing. And at times, we also take an opportunity to say, and this is the next big project. This is the next project that is going to happen in the next construction season. Given the circumstances, we don't have that opportunity, but that will be reviewed with through our CIP process as well. So that's just part of our fall tour. Next year, hopefully, we are going to have that fall tour. But again, this is just an opportunity to update everybody. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's go now to John Larson. He's going to cover part of the tour as well.
Okay, can everybody see my presentation?
Yeah, it's up on the screen.
Okay, so for this portion of our tour, we tried to make it similar to the normal driving with a van. So we've got some footage of going down the streets, or some drone footage looking at the streets. We'll start off here with our first project. Whoops, 1 second here. All right, the first one is our 72nd Street reconstruction from Prairie Avenue to Douglas Avenue. this project has been completed other than some minor punch list items that still need to be completed. So we'll start at Prairie Avenue, and this one here, due to the tree cover, we could not fly it with the drone. So we had the vehicle and we just videotaped it as we were driving down the road, similar to what we do with our construction projects. But we'll start here on, like I said, on Prairie Avenue going south. You'll have an opportunity to see here. I apologize for that. We condensed the video and I forgot to turn the mute on to keep from hearing the background noise. So you can hear them trimming the trees. And again, I apologize for the background noise. We compressed all our videos at the end, hoping that you wouldn't have problems watching them at home since you were not in the city hall. Our next one is Meredith Drive, reconstruction from 156th to 170th Street. This is where we reconstructed Meredith from 156th to 167th Street. This project also has been completed with some minor punch list items remaining. Here, due to the power lines at 156th Street, we had to start a little bit west of 156th Street. As you can see, we've got the 2 lanes in each direction, our left turn lanes at the major intersections, and then a 10-foot trail on the north side and a 5-foot trail on the south side.
John, this is AJ. You may want to comment about some of the restoration that still needs to take place in the public spaces.
Sure. Just recently, the contractor has gone in, reworked the area and seeded everything. With this project, we have a 1-year warranty period. So the contractor will need to maintain the areas and watering it, overseeding it, or whatever would need to be done to help control weeds. At the end of that 1-year period, if we don't have quality grass established, and that period just keeps extending until we get it to the quality that is acceptable to us. And that is typically what we do with our CIP projects. What's coming up on to
that question, AJ, because you knew I was going to ask it, but it does not look good right now. I mean, they sprayed the green stuff, I think, but it's not looking like it's going to do much of anything good this fall, but at it every single day.
Right, and as far as this fall, a lot will depend on the moisture. Again, we've had a dry year and it's looking like a dry fall. But typically with planting grass, it does take a couple years before it fully does fill in. Here, I just paused it for a second. We're at 167th Street. That was the end of our full reconstruction, and we're showing the last quarter mile that was overlaid in asphalt. The replacement of that quarter mile to the full 5-lane is intended to be included with the 170th Street project. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. So our next one is the 104th Street reconstruction, which was from Hickman Road to Douglas Avenue. This project also has been completed other than some punch list items that still remain. Here for the footage, the drone starts out looking at 104th Street and Hickman Road intersection, and then it turns and goes back to the north towards Douglas. As you can see on this, the restoration is the same here. There's some that was done last year, but the majority of it is being done this year, and it still has the same 1-year warranty, the same procedures involved with it. As you can see, looking at the project, we started out with a rural 2-lane roadway and reconstructed it as an urban 3-lane roadway where we filled in the ditches, added the storm sewer, and then installed a sidewalk on each side of the road. So again, you can see there's some spots still have to touch up on the grass, but at least from some of the stuff last year, we're starting to get some growth. You can also see that we've had the light poles installed along the road. At the south end, Mid-American Energy still needs to install some of the light poles at the north end. As we're coming up here on the left, you can see the city vehicle. That's Ryan Noah, our GIS coordinator. He's the one who obtained all the drone footage for us, except for the stuff that's on the urban loop. And again, you can see we're up towards the north end now where they still need to install the street lights. We're coming up on Justin Drive.
John, I got a question on this.
Sure.
Up on the right, past the vet, we're about ready to hit it. There's a city property. Is there any rehab still to be done on it, or is that kind of the condition it's going to stay?
That's owned by the water utility.
Okay.
So there's nothing more planned on that area. They've got an underground tank there.
Bridget drives by the other. I drive this every day, so we'll all have our issue areas.
Yep.
It's a nice big pile of rock there that I see every day, wondering what's going to happen to it. So.
And by this council.
Now we're approaching, just coming up to the end at Douglas Avenue.
John, you might want to mention about the undergrounding of utilities on this one?
I guess, yeah, again, Mid-American did underground the utilities. That's where it's nice. You did not see any power poles or anything along there. Here's our big one, the Highway 141 and Meredith Drive interchange, or the urban loop area. On this project, the big news is on Friday at 5 a.m., they will open back up the interstate after putting up the truss signs and doing pavement markings. And at that time, they also plan to open up both of the Meredith Drive ramps and the flyover bridge. This was a little bit fancier video for us here with some music and things added by our consultant. As you can see, the Meredith Drive ramp to the right for the off ramp, and then the on ramp on the left. And then a look at the flyover bridge. Should also note that this drone footage is from about 1 month ago.
Also on this, on the, like the Douglas on-ramp, there looks like there's spots for light poles to go in. Is that also a part of this project too?
Correct. Lighting is a part of this project.
Okay.
Here we're up in Grimes where they're doing the connection. You can see here where they've removed the loop exit ramp. And you can see again, mentioning this is about a month old, but there's the on-ramp back onto the interstate, which they're working on paving now. And then the widening of the interstate heading into the Douglas interchange. The next one is our Parks and Public Works facility. This one's maybe a little bit behind schedule, but still should be completed by probably late spring, early summer. So we got some drone footage going around the building, and then we've got some photos showing the inside of the building. So here you can see the access ways to the mezzanine storage on the east side of the building. You also see several skylights on the building. When we look at the pictures on the inside, you'll notice how much light come from the skylights. On the right is the sanitation vehicle storage building. And then now showing over on the left is our material bunker storage. Approximately half of the storage area is covered storage. Now we're going over the top of the existing salt bunker, coming around to see the other door side of the sanitation vehicle storage area. You can see the existing canopy for the fuel island, and then all the doors here, which are openings into the mechanics area, into the weld bay, the wash bays here, and these two doors are the main entrance and exit out of the building. Here is where they're working on the detention facility and the concrete walls. As we come across to the front, they've started have some of the parking lot in. And I note there's a couple panels here between the tip up concrete that you'll see how they let light into the building when we look at the inside. And over here, this is the administrative office area. That's probably the area that's behind the most right now. They've got quite a bit to do in that area. So to kind of look in the inside, here we're on the upper level, looking to the west. We've got the mechanics area on the right and the wash bays to the left. You almost barely see the actual the main entrance and exit doors. Here is looking at the fleet storage area, looking north towards the sanitation wing. And then here we are looking back south towards Hickman Road, and you can see how much light comes in through those panels, plus from the skylights, how much that lights up the room. I'm looking at our fuel station site that's out at 170th Street and Waterford Road. As you can see here, the paving has been installed. The canopy is over the fuel islands. They've done quite a bit of the plantings out here. We still need to install a gate on both locations here and 170th Street. and they still need to do some work with the fuel pumps and get fuel into the tanks. Also wanted to note over here to the east is the area where the new satellite facility building will be constructed that was recently approved. Now just quickly going into our 2021 major projects. Our first one is Waterford Road from 142nd Street to 156th Street. This will be a total reconstruction, so it will be a 4-lane roadway with the left turn lanes at the major intersections. We'll have our cycle tracks, which will be a 10-foot asphalt trail and a 5-foot concrete sidewalk right next to it on the north side of the road. And then we will have a 5-foot sidewalk on the south side of the road. So we're starting here looking from 156th Street back towards 142nd Street. And just kind of some points of reference. This will be Barrett Park here on the right. Coming up on the right here is the Walnut Ridge subdivision and the Barrett Estates development. We got Coyote Ridge, or excuse me, Waterford Creek South on the north side of the road here. So there will be quite a few houses, and we'll have to deal with probably 3 different stages to allow people access during the project. Now we're starting to come into the Coyote Ridge development. Over here on the right, they're just wrapping up construction on the Jordan Lee development. As we continue to the east here, we come to the end of the Coyote Ridge development and start coming into the Waterford Point development as we come up on 142nd Street. With our reconstruction, we'll narrow back down to tie into the existing at the intersection with 142nd Street. The intersection will be reconstructed with the 142nd Street project at a future date. And then another future project is our Douglas Avenue urbanization. This goes from Walnut Creek west to 100th Street. With this project, we'll be adding curb and gutter on the existing street, filling in the ditches, adding storm sewer, and we'll also on the north side of the road, we'll have the cycle track again, where we'll have the 10-foot asphalt trail and a 5-foot sidewalk, and there'll be a 5-foot sidewalk on the south side of the road. Here we're starting off coming up on Walnut Creek here. We'll also do some maintenance work. We'll mill, patch, and overlay the westbound lanes, and we'll do some patching on the eastbound. The eastbound lanes are in much better shape. The only intersection along this corridor that does not have a left turn lane into it is at 92nd, so we'll add that left turn lane with the project. And I think a lot of the benefit we'll see with this project is we've always had in front of Walker Johnston Park. You know, it's been hard to maintain these areas due to being wet, not draining well. So once we do the fill in and storm sewer, these will be nicely maintained areas. One big thing to note in the right of way here, there are quite a few trees, but in order to put the cycle track in, do the fill and everything that we need to do, most of those trees, if not all of those trees, will end up being removed in the right of way. What we're proposing in the current CIP that we're working on is to have a planting plan the following year where we can at a minimum at least start planting trees and start to dress up this corridor again. As we come up to Maryland Drive, the left turn lanes, we're proposing to have offset left turn lanes. That'll move them more to the center, which will increase the safety at the intersection. Also, it'll do a little bit of modifications to the traffic signal. As you can see, here's the ditch is really cut through here, and again, we'll be able to clean that up and get better drainage. One thing to note too, it'll be nice about this project is currently you can see we have the granular shoulders along the edge of the road. Once we urbanize them, you know, that'll be lawn and it'll be a lot less work for our public works crews to maintain. Now we're coming up on the end by 100th Street. The north side of the road has been urbanized somewhat, but we'll have to finish on the south side.
John, right here, the railroad tracks on the left.
Oops, sorry.
Just as you were
Yes.
coming up.
Yep.
Is there any plans to do anything at that little triangle corner? You know, there's trees in there. It kind of obscures the view of of that site.
This
And plus,
is
just, you know, that
Yes.
whole.
Yes.
this is Dave.
Yep. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah, just we've been working with economic development. They've asked us to go in there and remove all of the scrub, and there's that one tall bush tree, whatever you want to call it. We've been working with the railroad. The railroad is fine with us doing the work. They just want to get a flagger in. So as of yesterday, I've emailed them and asked them if in the next couple of weeks they could get a railroad person in there. They just want to be present when we're doing the work to make sure it's not a safety issue, and that's fine. So yes, we're trying to get in there, clean up all the brush that's on both sides of the tracks, get that tree out of there. And also in next year, we're trying to get a schedule with the railroad to get the to get the 100th Street crossing to be replaced also.
Any leads on developing that parcel?
I don't know if Curtis is on.
Good afternoon. Thanks, council member. Nothing definitive yet and moving forward. There certainly have been inquiries. One thing that we are doing is looking at ways we can encourage property owners like the Zamzo family that owns that property to encourage them to take the next steps in thinking through how their site could develop. So we're working with them to better prepare it for development. But short answer to your short question is that there are no definitive plans on that yet, but we are working with the property owner to move them forward.
Okay, thanks. It sure is an improvement.
We would definitely agree.
And I guess with that, that's all I had. Hopefully this had somewhat of a feel of the normal fall tour. But if anybody had any other questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
I appreciated the use of the
Anybody have any
drones.
questions for John?
I just wanted to say I appreciated the use of the drone footage. It makes, as a visual person, it makes it a lot easier for me to follow.
Okay, thank you, John. The next thing on the agenda is the city building reopening plans, and this is AJ is going to take it.
Yes, thank you, Ron, for the council. I can appreciate it. By my clock, it's 1:01 p.m. So I appreciate, we ran a little longer. The best laid plans in my calendar for getting things done for the timetable got a little skewed, but hopefully you'll find the meeting has value today. I did have down here in the city reopening plans, and I put this on there because I had suggested a couple of weeks ago a plan that we laid out for kind of a partial reopening, if you will. And I've heard from a couple council members, I've heard from staff members have heard from the public, and there's that proverbial question: when are we going to start reopening buildings? When is the public still going to be open? When are the buildings going to be open to the public? When can they access things that they can't access now? First, before we get into that, and again, I do apologize, so I'll move this quickly. And if we have to reconvene to have a more in-depth discussion about this, certainly this is an important topic. But I can certainly tell you that through the spring and summer and early fall, from an operational standpoint, probably the two most impacted operations are the Parks and Recreation and the library operation for our building being closed. Having been in this building since the beginning of the pandemic and having discussed this matter with the departments that are located here, I can tell you that our business here at City Hall is almost as normal. Our traffic is minimal, obviously, and it's non-existent for non-people, but for us to be able to do our business through community development, through engineering, through economic development, certainly, the patterns that we experienced previously, we've adapted very nicely. And I think I can say with a high degree of authority that we really haven't missed much. I know that Curtis and Aaron, for their trips to making on-site trips to economic development trips to developers and building owners and businesses, that has been curtailed, but they've been able to accomplish that via the web. And then I know through my conversation with engineering and community development, their contacts with development community builders, et cetera, has really remained on track. Our ability to do our inspections for both our projects that we do through engineering or through community development through inspection projects, that has remained relatively on track as well. We've allowed our inspectors to take vehicles home or to come and check out a vehicle with little or no contact inside the building. So those have been proceeding nicely. But those are all weather related. And so as we get into the weather, those folks will be coming in, and inside City Hall, to continue to segregate those individuals in those departments, we can still accomplish that. We have the luxury of having space within this building that we can segregate, close doors, have 6 to 12 feet distance. We've used WebEx. We have mask requirements. I feel very, very confident about that. As I mentioned, the outside operations, Parks and Recreation, which will be gearing down under normal conditions, are outside opportunities. But as Jan mentioned and showed you, we have a number of outside venues that are still available to the public that don't need any social distancing, in as much as we're not operating a program, their trails, their playgrounds. The library has been doing the curbside pickup. It's been very successful. I think I see someone from the library online here. And so that is, they can speak to that, but that's been a very successful program for us. And one that, quite honestly, we were kind of one of the leaders in the metro on offering that service. We also have a digital program, digital access for card holders that can access the digital collection. But I know of all those departments, they're probably getting more inquiries as to when that building is going to open up. So earlier I put out material that said that we would like to try maybe a soft reopening here at City Hall beginning next Monday, and that would be for appointments only, and that would be appointments that we here at City Hall would generate. So we'd still not have any walk-in traffic for someone who has a question. We would still have UPS leave their packages outside, all of that. But if we found it necessary or appropriate or most advantageous to bring someone into the building, that would be our decision. We would have them socially distanced, and we have very large areas that we can have that. We've had one meeting that I've been part of with MetroNet. That went very well. We had 3 people from their staff, 3 from our staff, met in the council chambers, mask required. We were probably 15 feet away, hand sanitizers, the whole 9 yards. So, and again, temperature checks, etc. The library now is looking to, and I've been in contact with the acting director, Catherine Mannion, and they have a plan that they would have, they would allow for very limited access for the time period from next Monday and through the start of November. And that would be a trial period to see how that went. And we would have access for 10 computers in one of the larger conference rooms. We would rotate people and we'd have limited access to that, to the public. And then I had suggested possibly if the council was comfortable that we may start looking at council meetings beginning in November in the building again. Now, I'll preface this all by saying, and I've had a conversation with one of the council members concerning, or at least a question that was raised as to the criteria used. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes the criteria is just that feel. We've been trying to look at federal and state sources for criteria to give us guidance. And I'll be honest, we're not getting a lot of state or federal guidance on how we operate. We did at the beginning of the pandemic is that you said you couldn't have your library open, you couldn't have your swimming pool open. They had a lot of things that you couldn't do until they got their arms around this whole issue. Being 7 months into this, there have been a number of iterations from the CDC and from the State Department of Public Health as to how things are operating. Quite honestly, our observation is that most of that guidance has been for private sector businesses and for the public school system. And so for operational issues at the municipal level, they've been pretty much hands off. We've also been tracking the number of positive cases by COVID, not only statewide, but by Polk and Dallas County. And recently we've been able to drill down and get a little better feel on our zip codes, 50323 and 50322. And so I've been sharing those with council and hopefully you've been seeing those. But again, some of the criteria that you would normally look at would be positivity rate of cases presented in the state of Iowa. Well, that's been somewhat of a roller coaster. Over the weekend, we had cases that were 1,300 new cases. Sunday was 1,200 new cases, and Monday was 425 new cases. So there is really no consistency there, and I think it just goes to the whole issue of the uncertainty of what we're facing right now. But again, I wanted to push that out there to say, is there a time that we're comfortable, and I had made those suggestions and recommendations for those dates, that we're comfortable reopening a portion of our operations, those services that we provide, and that we are hearing some public feedback on. That isn't a lot. I mean, we're not getting inundated by calls, emails, people pounding on the door, but those comments do come up. I will tell you that throughout the metro, it's a mixed bag. The city of Des Moines is beginning the process of reopening its libraries. Ankeny has its library open. City of Waukee and Clive have curbside pickup only, and they have no immediate plans to reopen any of their buildings at this point in time. Des Moines was planning to open their buildings come November 1st. I know there's limited reopenings at the county. The same with City of Ankeny. Again, I was trying to find consistency among metro cities, and I found the only consistency is the inconsistency. So I wanted to run that by you all. I know there's going to be questions, and I certainly can appreciate the time factor. And I know that we have had, since the pandemic, we have had 2 meetings in person. One was a council meeting that we had, and the other was our work session. And again, the work session was not open to the public, but the council meeting was, and I think we had 2 visitors. I will tell you that it appears that by all accounts, our virtual WebEx platform has served us very well for the council meetings, for our staff meetings, for the meetings outside these buildings. So we have adapted, I think, really, really well to continue to provide as much of a level of service to the community as we can. We get participation. And if you look at the number of people who log on to our meetings, who will call in, it probably mirrors what we have in person. You know, for those new council members and for those who have been with the council, we don't get a lot of visitors, except if something's on their agenda. So I could tell you that we probably aren't shortchanging the process as far as public access It's there, it's available, and we're seeing the same type of impact. So I wanted to raise that issue. I want to raise those issues to kind of get a comfort level from all of you. We haven't had that big discussion. And I was looking for a phased approach to look and see the guide. And again, if we need more time to discuss this, we certainly can. We can certainly postpone anything that we had planned to do till your comfort level's there. But I can also tell you that I don't know where we're going as far as the rest of the calendar year and what criteria we'll use. And I mean, in the sense that it is constantly changing. And I wish I had a better answer for you. I wish there was a more definitive source to say at this point, it's safe to go back in the water. But I don't know that we're going to have that for the rest of the calendar year, and quite honestly into 2021. Greg Edwards made some comment about their industry and their comfort level when a vaccine comes out. I suspect that that's going to be fairly true with a lot of private businesses and public entities, as that when there is a vaccine, when there is a better treatment, when there is a whole host of other things, you know, we've learned so much in the last 7 to 8 months and we've adapted well, but there's still a journey ahead of us. And as I always said to our employees, and I think I've shared with council, our number one goal is to keep everybody as safe as possible. That means our employees and our residents that we serve. At the same time, we still have a commitment to provide that service. And in a recent conversation I had with the library director, it was, you know, those folks over at the library, they understand their role and they understand their value to the community, and they're looking forward to being able to open their doors, if not incrementally, at least to a point where they can offer a higher level of service than they've done so far. So there's kind of our conundrum. It's kind of what I want to share with you. And I will be quiet now to listen to your comments and direction that we may go.
Okay, this is Councilman Blake. I'm only jumping in because I'm already 13 minutes late for another call I need to get on with DHS department head on Medicaid eligibility. But I will just jump in really quickly and then log off. Again, with me working within the industry that I do with nursing facilities, my level of when it comes to reopening and all this is probably, I'm dealing with positivity rates daily because that's what dictates what, but the fact is that CMS has opened up, even in nursing facilities, the hardest hit industry with this COVID, they have opened up guidance when it comes to how visitation can occur. And the point is that we have gotten to a point now where we have figured out there are some precautions in this. There are ways to manage this in person. And again, I checked the positivity. We're down to 5% today, at least within the 5322 zip code. So it's looking a little bit better when it comes to positivity rates. I'm open to the idea that we look at ways to start phase reopening, just because at this point in time, I think we have the tools we need to maintain it. The only way we would open is if I would say that we would have to have a mask mandate that anybody coming in to the building needed to have it on. I know that West Des Moines has, there's a little bit more, it's highly recommended, but not mandatory. But that's something I would be open to. The fact is, I think it's getting a little tougher for us when schools have reopened. Some of these other entities, whether they like it or not, have reopened, and we are dragging our feet. I think we need to look at making sure that the levels that are brought in are very low. You would have to maybe be appointment only for certain entities that are coming in. We would have to, as I said, maintain social distancing and all that. If all the procedures are followed, again, if we are allowing people to go visit loved ones in nursing homes, I think we could maybe figure out a way to do it within city government. But that's just my opinion now. Again, I'm the one that had COVID, and I'm very proponent. I wish we had the ability, and I would bring it up, that we'd have a mask mandate in the city, but we can't. But I do believe that there are ways that we can. I know that there are some resources that our people in our community need to get back to, and we should be able to figure out a way. Sorry, let's try and get that all out as quickly as I can, and I'm sorry to just talk and leave, but I gotta go. So, see everybody.
So long. What are the thoughts of the other council members?
Yeah, this is Adam, and I guess I kind of echo with Matt. I mean, I think we need to find ways to continue to engage the public. I like that we open up to meetings. if masks are part of that, then they're part of that. I think it's something that we've come to accept. I did see an orthodontist ad that said now's a great time to get your teeth straightened. So, because it's behind masks, so you don't see the braces. So ways we can be creative in it, I think are good. Library services, I know there's a desire for more library services to be opened and more access to city staff. So, but doing it in a respectful manner to the pandemic is always good, but I'd keep pushing that we can open things up a little bit. As far as council meetings, I miss the in-council chambers discussions. And so if there's a way that we as a council can be together, safe, distanced apart, but I would presume that WebEx is part of our life now with council, that we will have that as an option no matter if we get together or not.
AJ, this is David. How is the scanners? Didn't we put some scanners in for temperatures? And is that something that you'd have everybody kind of walk through first as they come into the building? Or how do those things work?
Well, how they work is that you step in front of the scanner. It has a little outline of a face and then you kind of put yourself in that outline, and then it measures the temperature. It doesn't give you a temperature, it just says that you're okay. So there's a top end temperature that says, I think it's 104, that if you're above that, the red lines, and that way you have a temperature based on what it's been preset at. We have those in City Hall. We have several, but we would move one to the library. One was purchased for the library, and so we put one there. And our staff discussion has been that we would mandate masks coming into our buildings. That, for example, if you wanted to use the library for their limited offerings, and as they grew that offering, you would have a mask requirement. We provide masks, hand sanitizers, all of that. If you came to a meeting at City Hall with an appointment that we generated, we would ask that the only reason you're coming to a meeting is that you're going to have a mask on, and that we have these and they're available for you to check your temperature, and then all the protocols that we've gotten used to. If you're not feeling well, don't come. If you have a temperature, if you have a cough, all the physical signs that may make people uncomfortable, even if you just have a common cold, we would ask you not to attend that meeting or utilize our buildings. City Hall would be an easier enforcement. I think the library would be a little bit harder, just because of the sheer number of people that they would serve as this went through the process.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Ron. I can tell you that I think we ought to mandate masks if you're in a city building. I don't have any problem with that. The temperatures are fine, although CDC is now saying they're pretty ineffective because they don't pick up those that are asymptomatic, which are a lot of the spreaders are asymptomatic. But it would at least pick up those who are definitely sick and keep them out. I just do not want anybody to think, well, I had my temperature taken, so I don't have to wear a mask. Yeah, I still want the mask requirement regardless. And I agree with Adam. One of the major questions I get from constituents is, when is the library going to reopen? So I think there's a lot of pressure to let people get into the library, not necessarily the meeting rooms. I'm hesitant to open those because we know that it's going to be hard to control that as far as activities in there. But I think just opening the library so people can go in and grab a book or two, I think is important to get done.
AJ, we had a discussion, I think, last week about the Chamber of Commerce election forums held at the Giovannetti Center or Shelter this week and next week. And they're not requiring masks. We had that discussion, didn't we?
Right. Yeah, we
okay.
sure
So
did.
I realize that is someone that is utilizing our space. We are giving them the space, but I was told that legally we cannot mandate that they wear a mask. How is that different than, I do not want to put our library staff in any sort of harm. yes, I think the library is doing a fantastic job getting programs out there, getting books to people. But if we were to start opening and people just walk in, are we putting our library staff in danger to having to tell the people that they can't come in if they are not wearing a mask? Or are we legally allowed to tell them? Because I don't see a difference with allowing events in the Giovanetti shelter that are not requiring a mask.
That is, those are great questions and ones that we've struggled with. The advice that we've gotten from the city attorney is that because the governor's office has not given anybody authority to unilaterally make that decision, that the enforcement part of it would probably end up being that we're requiring masks. If you refuse to wear one, you're still going to be gained admittance to the library. We're not going to put our people at risk. We're trying to do an enforcement action when someone is dead set about not wearing a mask. You know, we're having limited access to the building, so you would hope that that if they did come in without a mask, that exposure be lessened. Our people will wear a mask. I think that we could still, you know, again, more of a legal question, and you never know the answer until you're legally challenged. But to say that if you're going to come into our buildings, we're going to ask you to wear a mask, and just see where it goes from there. It's, again, I think we can gain a tremendous amount of compliance from those who want to use the buildings. But if we run into somebody who wants to challenge that compliance, it would probably not, we'd probably not come out on the winning side of it. Back to your question about the Giovanetti shelter, since it's not our event, you know, we felt hesitant about saying that you're required to wear a mask. We would hope that they would. You know, if the council wanted to say that that building is not available for any group that doesn't adhere to a mask policy, that would be a council decision. At this point in time, we did not feel comfortable making that requirement on an event that's not ours.
Well, this is Ron. I think there's a big distinction as to whether they're coming in for services we provide as opposed to renting the building. We've been telling clients of our firm for a long time that if they want to say you either wear a mask or you don't come into the business, that they can do that legally. And you see a lot of people walk up to the door, turn around, go back to their car and get a mask or leave. And I think that's fine. So I think there's a difference there as to whether or not we're going to mandate masks for people who rent the Giovanetti Center. That's a different discussion. But I think when it's our employees at risk and the general public coming in, I think we're fine to mandate a mask. And how we enforce it is pretty easy. The library is the only business I know who can call the police and have somebody there walk over casually in 2 minutes. You know, that's better than most places.
I guess I don't know if this, where the line of command between the library board and us, this council is, but I guess, you know, I would be interested in seeing a proposal on what a limited opening looks like from the library. I mean, do people make appointments and we only allow a certain number of, you know, visitors every hour? I guess I'd be interested in seeing that before we make any arrangements. And I guess the other thing I wanted to comment on is when we did have, I mean, I agree that the interactions between us at the council table are very important, and we're definitely missing those. But I feel like the public is getting more from the meetings when we're doing them online, because they're seeing everything. And when we did them in the chambers, you know, we only have one camera, and I think, you know, Dave was off the camera, so people couldn't tell if he was talking or, you know, who was talking to really follow along. So, I mean, I think that we should, as long as we're limiting the people in the chambers and, you know, the staff is doing the presentations from their offices, just us sitting around the table doesn't really gain much other than our ability to chat with each other. I think we're actually probably getting more involvement, interaction, feedback by having the meetings online. So I am very much in the let's not go very fast camp. I think opening for appointments at City Hall, I mean, you guys know who you need to meet with. I'm fine with that. I'm a little more hesitant at the library. I think that is the one area where we probably need to look at opening, but their safety is my absolute number one concern. And so I want to take that very thoughtfully. So that's what I got.
It's your comment about the plan. I've had a considerable amount of conversations with Catherine, and I'd like to give kudos to her as the acting director. She's been extremely thorough and thoughtful about plans and safety and keeping us connected. So I see she's on the screen, so I'll embarrass her by saying she's done an outstanding job. But she's on there, and she and I have communicated just as of yesterday, and she put together some thoughts. So Catherine, if you want to share that real quick, and then we can push something out to council today.
Sure, absolutely. So we definitely, our reopening plans have been a work in progress since March. You know, we definitely have evolved over time. We had a couple of weeks in June where we were able to provide that very limited lobby service portion. Ultimately, we found that that did not serve us as well as we'd like. The feedback from our staff is that they would be most comfortable in the full building being able to stay at their desks. We do have plexiglass installed at all of the desks now. We are requiring staff to wear masks, and then we've also gotten them face shields as well. But what we're instructing them is we're hoping to not have to call the police. Most of the libraries that are open now, West Des Moines, Ankeny, do have mask requirements, and as far as I've heard, are not having too much trouble enforcing them. I think it's become kind of a norm that people understand that entering some businesses, you are required to wear a mask. Our plan is to have an employee stationed at the lobby at a mobile desk behind plexiglass to greet people as they come in, to ensure that they're wearing their mask and that they kind of understand what we're doing. We are going to limit it to fewer than 50 people in the building at a time. That's less than a quarter of our building's capacity, but we wanted to start really tight and make sure we have a manageable amount of people. So we'll have someone at the front counting, checking for the masks. If they're refusing to wear a mask, we're going to offer them some alternatives. We've got some face shields for the public. We'll still be doing curbside pickup, so they'll still be able to access materials that way. If they're just going to bully their way in and not listen to anybody, our messaging to the staff is you are not required to serve anyone who's not wearing a mask. If they want to grab books, use the self-check and head out, you know, we're going to hope they don't breathe on anybody. But our goal is to expand the services that we're offering to our citizens because they are missing them and our staff are missing that connection as well. You know, we really feel like after seeing the grocery stores and the restaurants and other businesses doing this over the last 6 months, we do feel like we have a pretty good handle on how we can do it safely. So what we've proposed is our library board is very concerned about public computer access. That's one of the functions that we typically serve that we have not really been able to provide over the summer. So we're looking at, as AJ mentioned, a small laptop lab just in those big meeting rooms where we can really space everybody out and also keep it in kind of a contained portion of the building. We'd like to open just for that on the 19th, if that's acceptable. Just walk-in traffic, no appointments needed. 1 to 5 in the afternoon, a 2-hour time limit on the computers. And that would just help us to kind of get used to people being back in this space. You know, we've been closed for quite a while now. It's going to be a little weird when people come back in. So this would be kind of an intermediate step to get our staff used to some of their new precautions, some of the new procedures that we have. And then we are looking at a more full opening on November 2nd, again, if that's amenable to you guys. But we definitely have a lot of precautions in place. I'd be happy to send out just a written document kind of summarizing that.
Catherine, this is David Russell. Could you address a little bit about the curbside book checkout? Will there be like a quarantine period of time when the book is being returned, or how is all that going to work?
So currently, and actually for months now, pretty much since the beginning, we have been quarantining everything that comes into the building for 3 days. That 72-hour recommendation comes from, I think it was a Institute of Museum and Library Sciences study where they looked at how long the virus could survive on different kinds of materials. And they found that 72 hours was enough time for there to not be a real detectable trace of the virus on those hard surfaces. So as things come in, we put them on a cart, we mark when and what time they came in, and then they're held for 72 hours before we check them in and send them on to other people. So currently we're allowing customers to request up to 20 books. And then, sorry, I'm supposed to be in another meeting as well. So you can place your holds online, or you can just call us and say, you know, here's a list of the books that I want. You make an appointment, you come through our drive-through, and we'll pop them out for you. You can pick them up in your car. And people have been really happy with that because mostly they just want the books.
Catherine, what's the plan on any sort of programming? Would that be on hold?
So what we've
indefinitely?
decided for now, yep, our meeting rooms are blocked off through December. We're not comfortable yet hosting meetings. We get a lot of neighborhood associations and Toastmasters and lots of groups coming in, but we're not ready for that step yet. Programming will probably also remain virtual for the end of the year. I don't think anybody here can imagine doing a story time with 80 kids right now. And we are currently short a children's librarian as well. Our online programming has actually been really successful. We've had some really good Zoom book clubs, and we've had some people who were able to participate who maybe wouldn't normally. In fact, we've got folks coming from out of state, you know, clicking and registering for our programs. So for now, absolutely, programming will be staying online.
Well, I can absolutely vouch for the children's Zoom book clubs. So we've been doing them all summer and into the fall.
Fantastic.
We're approaching 2 hours on the meeting. I don't know, do we give you enough direction, AJ?
I think so. If everybody's still comfortable, again, I think City Hall was, I would hope that was going to be an easier task than the discussion on the library, because that is going to draw more people. But if you're comfortable, I'll have Catherine redo the memo she sent me and just update that with this conversation, a new date. We'll push that out, and then we will have that soft opening on the 19th. And again, as a caveat, if we find that there is a significant outbreak, if there's issues that come up, we will certainly err on the side of safety. We will close the doors once again. We'll reassess because we have holidays coming up. We have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, and we have college students who are coming back from their universities and colleges. And for the most part, they're up for a 6 weeks hiatus. And those of you who have had college kids in your house understand that you don't want them there for 6 weeks coming back from break. So, and I say that tongue in cheek because that's going to introduce a whole different environment, a whole different new audience that could potentially affect the numbers that we've talked about. So we will continue to be on the side of safety, but we also understand that our job is to provide as many services as efficiently and as safely as possible to our residents. So again, that's the direction we'll go. Thank you very much on that. At this point, we can still have some conversations about, we still have some time before the November, but that may be a conversation that we can open up depending upon the agenda for next Tuesday night. And I certainly appreciate everybody's time. I'm sorry that it went over, but we covered a lot of ground today, and I do appreciate your patience and your input.
With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion by Obrecht to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Second by Dave. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? You can stay on. Anyway, thanks everybody.